From the day you moved in, I watched you. You had that twinkle in your eye as you showed your family around their new home, seemingly a sanctuary you had searched for. I watched you through the gaps in the wooden panels of your new living room, wondering if you would ever know of my existence. You were so proud of your son, Josh, as he learned to play the piano. The melodies filled not just your home, but mine as well. He was so delighted the day he mastered Fur Elise. His laughter, his triumphs, his tears. I saw them all just as you did. Your wife, Sarah, always engrossed in her gardening books, inspired me. I could see her through the little space that connects my secret chamber to your backyard. She was very keen on keeping the roses red and the tulips standing tall, and she often read by the light coming in from the sliding door. And then there was you, working diligently in your home office, trying to balance family and work, but always making time for a game of catch with Josh or a quiet dinner with Sarah. As the years passed, I too felt like a part of your family. I laughed when you laughed, cried when you cried, and celebrated every little joyous occasion. And I did all this from my vantage point, the hidden room tucked away behind the walls of your living room and kitchen, accessible only through an intricate labyrinth of passages inside the walls of this very house. But today, my heart sank. It was another average evening, but something felt different. Sarah was reading as usual, but you were pacing nervously around the house. Finally, you stopped at a spot near the fireplace and started examining the wall. My wall. Were you onto me? Had you noticed the peephole? Had you heard me? My heart raced. If you knew, what would you do? I had no idea. Then I heard the police sirens. They got louder and closer until they seemed to be right outside your house. You looked horrified, paralyzed for a moment before dashing towards the back door. But they were too quick for you. They had you surrounded. As I later learned from the police radio I secretly kept in my chamber, you were wanted for a series of frauds and were hiding your real identity. The life you were living was a lie, a facade. I was flabbergasted. How could this happen? The man I had watched, the family I had felt a part of, none of it was real. Within hours, Sarah and Josh were taken away, the home emptied, and for the first time in years, I felt truly alone. I, too, had my secrets, you see. Years before you came, I had been a young architect, fascinated with secret chambers and hidden compartments. This house was my secret project, but a fateful accident left me unable to go back to the world outside. So I stayed hidden, watching over my secret domain, never able to leave but always eager to observe. As the police searched the house, they came closer and closer to my hidden room. My heart pounded. Then I remembered. You had stashed something inside my wall, something that had made you so nervous. I quickly found the false compartment you had made, revealing bundles of counterfeit money and fake identities. In that moment, I made a choice. I took the evidence and slipped out through a hidden exit I had never had the courage to use. I left them in a bag outside the front door, rang the doorbell, and disappeared back into my hidden world. The next day, the police found the evidence. Your crimes were laid bare, but Sarah and Josh were spared from further harm. I like to believe they will start anew, live a better life. As for me, I remain the man behind the wall, a silent guardian in the backdrop of other people's lives. Maybe someday someone worthy will move in again, someone I can watch over, someone who reignites the light that brightens this endless darkness. A few years passed, and the house had a hard time selling. The rumors of your arrest, the mysterious money, and the suddenly vanished husband and father cast a dark cloud over the property. The garden withered, and the piano fell silent. It was a lonely time. But eventually a new family moved in. They seemed cautious, perhaps aware of the house's history, but also hopeful. This time it was a single mother, Jane, and her two daughters, Emily and Lily. My heart fluttered with renewed interest. Once again, I could hear laughter and footsteps above me. Emily, the older sister, seemed passionate about painting, and I often watched her through the concealed slit that gave me a view of the garage, which she had converted into an art studio. Lily, on the other hand, was a bundle of energy, constantly running around, singing and playing. Jane was different. She was careful, alert. She installed new locks, updated the security system, and often double-checked the windows before going to bed. Perhaps she knew something about the world that her daughters didn't. Perhaps she knew something about people like you, and people like me. Weeks turned into months. Life began to blossom in that home once more. Jane found a job at a local community center, Emily won an art contest, and Lily sang in the school choir. Their successes were my joys. Their lives unfolded, as did their family dynamics, friendships, and even the small, seemingly insignificant moments that make life so beautifully ordinary. But then I noticed something. Jane was becoming more and more curious about the house. She started reading about its history. She stumbled upon old news articles about you and what had happened. And I caught her a few times examining the walls, especially near the fireplace, the very area that you had been so interested in. My heart sank once more. Would history repeat itself? Would she discover my hidden world? One night after her daughters had gone to sleep, Jane did something unthinkable. She brought a hammer and started to lightly tap around the living room wall. She was looking for hollow sounds. My pulse quickened as she moved closer and closer to my hidden chamber. She stopped. Our eyes met. Well, not quite. She couldn't see me, but I was looking right at her through my peephole. She must have sensed something. She took a deep breath and swung the hammer. Thud. The wall cracked, dust filled the air, and my hidden world was on the brink of being revealed. My mind raced. Should I run? Should I come out and face her? But before she could land another blow, Lily, awakened by the noise, came into the room. "Mom, what are you doing?" Startled, Jane quickly set the hammer down. "I thought I heard something in the wall, sweetheart. A mouse, maybe. Go back to bed." Lily left, but the tension remained. Jane looked back at the wall, her eyes narrowing. She knew. It was time for me to make another choice. That night I left a note and an envelope filled with some money I had saved over the years, carefully placing them where Jane would find them. The note read, "Use this to give Emily and Lily the life they deserve. But leave this house. Some walls are best left unopened." I watched as Jane found the note the next morning. She looked confused, then alarmed, but as she counted the money and read the note again, something in her eyes changed. 2 weeks later, the house was back on the market. Jane and her daughters moved out, heading to another city. I watched them leave, my heart filled with a bittersweet feeling of loss and relief. So here I remain, the man behind the wall, wondering who will move in next, wondering if I'll ever have the courage to step out from the shadows. And so, I wait. Hidden, yet watchful, a guardian of lives, not my own. But for the first time, I start to question, how long can I live like this? Am I guardian or a prisoner? And what would happen if, one day, the walls that hide me were finally torn down? Months passed, and the house stood empty. It was as if the wind itself whispered tales of its unsettling history to anyone who dared approach it. Weeds overtook the garden, and the for sale sign became weather-beaten and worn. Then a new family bought the house, a couple with no children, names Mark and Sarah. Mark was an architect with a fascination for historic buildings. Sarah was a psychologist, quiet and perceptive. They found the house's troubled past intriguing rather than discouraging. It was almost as if they wanted to solve its mysteries, as if they were drawn to its dark history. From my hidden vantage point, I saw Mark with blueprints and plans talking about restoration and renovation. Sarah, always with her notebook, seemed more interested in the psychological aspect of previous residents, especially of me, the man behind the walls, though she didn't know of my existence. Or so I thought. Weeks went by. Mark began his renovations, peeling back the layers of the house. I knew it was just a matter of time before they discovered my hideout. But by then, it didn't matter. I had grown tired, weary of my life in the shadows. Then one fateful day, it happened. Mark tore down a section of the wall, revealing my hidden chamber. For a moment, we locked eyes. I saw surprise on his face, then confusion, then realization. Sarah came into the room and screamed. I knew my time had come. Mark, angered and frightened, grabbed a crowbar from his toolbox. "Who are you?" "How long have you been here?" he yelled. I had no words. Words had abandoned me long ago. I simply stood there, resigned to my fate. And then, Sarah said something that startled us both. "Wait." Mark hesitated. Sarah looked at me, and for a moment, her eyes were filled with a kind of understanding. "He's been here a long time, hasn't he? Watching over the house in his own way. Like a guardian." "I've been here too long," I finally spoke, my voice raspy from years of silence. "I've watched over many lives, intervened when I could, but I can't go on. I'm neither guardian nor prisoner anymore. I'm a ghost. And it's time for me to move on." Sarah nodded, understanding the complex emotions that swirled in my eyes. "Maybe it's time to let go," she said softly. Mark, still gripping the crowbar, looked at his wife, then at me, and nodded. I stepped forward, almost inviting the blow. Mark raised the crowbar and swung it down. The house underwent a complete transformation under Mark and Sarah's care. During the renovations, they found old letters, photographs, and mementos from various eras tucked away in hidden corners. They chose to leave some walls untouched, as if preserving the memory of those who had lived, and hidden there. Sarah continued her research and even published a paper on the psychological phenomenon of guardians, people who live on the fringes, affecting others' lives in unseen ways. But what fascinated people the most was the mysterious disappearance of the man behind the walls. Some say he was a guardian angel, others claim he was a ghost, and a few believe he was just a man broken by life. No one knows for sure, and perhaps that's how it should be. The house, however, felt different, lighter, as if it had finally exhaled a long-held breath. And in the walls, if you listened carefully, there was silence.